Toastmaster for such a fine introduction and all the enthusiasm put into that. I appreciate it. A few weeks ago, Arlinda and I overheard a lady talking to some other ladies, and she was bragging about how little she has to pay for rent. $223, I think it was, a month. And HUD picks up all the rest. And how wonderful that was. The problem was the cost of food is going up, and that's such a challenge for her, even though she's getting food stamps, or what they're now called, like CalFresh. And Arlinda suggested, there's also loaves and fishes. You go eat there once in a while. And her comment was, that would make me feel so low to go to a place like that. And I thought about that, the attitude involved here. Having your monies confiscated at the point of a gun, literally, is great, wonderful, but accepting the goodwill and charity of a human heart is something that would be so low. What has happened to our country? It used to be that when a neighbor needed something, all the other neighbors just kicked in. You needed a new barn, they all came in one day and put up a barn for you. Even today, night before last, there were tornadoes that rippled through the Midwest. 13 of them, I think it was, or 31. My dyslexia kind of confuses numbers. And there, I'll have, in fact, I have pictures I can show you. Please look and pass around. This one is just Mayflower, Oklahoma, no, Arkansas, I'm sorry, Mayflower, Arkansas, but there were many other towns also devastated. And I remember a few years ago, there were other strings of tornadoes, some towns really badly devastated, and the people in those Midwestern towns refused government help. They helped themselves and rebuilt their town almost literally overnight. Neighbors would take in the neighbors whose houses had been demolished and feed them. And they'd rotate who was going to feed almost a third of the town each night. And then they'd let them stay there until they rebuilt their homes. This is the America I grew up knowing, not the America where you have pride in how much is confiscated from others. And when I mentioned earlier, at the point of a gun, I mean that literally. The IRS is very proud that we have a voluntary tax system. Now, how voluntary is it that your money is actually taken out of your check before it's even given to you? If a mugger came up to you and made it clear he had a gun and threatened your life, are you voluntarily handing your wallet over to that mugger? This is what's happening with the IRS. Their power to actually go in without a warrant and simply strip your bank account out for the funds they believe you might owe them because you didn't voluntarily fill out a form saying how much you owe them and send in a check is unparalleled. If you don't have the money in there, they come after your house or your other possessions. Well, what happens if you refuse to let them have it? They come with a sheriff. What's he got on his hip? A gun. If you refuse to let the sheriff come in and confiscate your house, they come back with a SWAT team. Those guns aren't on the hips. Taxes are at the point of a gun. We all know that. That's why we, quote, voluntarily give it, just as we voluntarily give a mugger our wallet because they're brandishing a gun. Now, what are the feelings involved here? If someone is voluntarily giving of their resources or their time to help you, don't you have a feeling of gratitude? And doesn't the giver feel good about the gift? And that's exactly the opposite of what happens when we're dealing with taxes. The people who are, quote, giving, having their taxes confiscated, rarely feel good about that. In fact, they do everything they can to minimize the damage, the amount taken. But the people receiving it are now calling it an entitlement. They're entitled to your money. And their feeling is more of resentment that they're not getting more. They don't feel gratitude toward the taxpayer. They feel that the government was right in confiscating it from you and giving it to them. This isn't the America I grew up knowing, but it is what we have today. What I'd like to do is help everyone consider turning things around. I remember when Arlinda and I our apartment building caught fire. Now, our apartment unit didn't, fortunately, but we were forced to move out of it and leave our stuff behind until, I think it was 3 weeks later, we finally got our furniture. But what happened? Our friends from this club came together and helped us move our stuff from the carport where the moving company had moved it down to, back up into the new apartment we were moving into. And our feeling was of gratitude for our friends. Arlinda even gave a speech on it and passed out hero certificates to our club members for helping us. And we all felt good. You felt good helping us. We felt good that you helped us. This is the America that I want to see again. So I know you have stories like that in your own past as well. I want you to think about those stories. I want you to consider what we can do to turn America back into that America, the one where we enjoyed helping each other and receiving help from one another. One thing I'd like you to consider is each time you walk into the voting booth, I want you to consider which candidate is more likely to want to bring out the American spirit that used to be so common in this country, and which one is more likely to want to grow the federal government and confiscate our money so the government can do more for us than we could honestly do for ourselves. Madam Toastmaster.
Is it 2 minutes now for
One
No,
minute.
That's contest.
One minute.
1 minute,